as per usual. Checking it out, making sure that we're live, actually streaming correctly. Wait for it to come on up. But thank you for everybody that's already tuned in, already sitting and waiting. It looks like we are live. Nice. Episode 57 right here, Beyond the Beats, on Swiss Beatbox, coming live and direct. It's your boy Scott Jackson. Again, 57. Let's go. Over a year of doing this, and I'm excited to go and have this gentleman on. Fellow Canadian, looking all styled out right now. Got that proper BBK swag on like he's supposed to have, and he's getting it going on right now. Always looking fresh, always looking clean. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're here with us, go and leave a comment in the comment section. We'll be reading out through them, finding out some of the best questions. We're also going to be putting out stuff and asking questions directly to this gentleman and figuring out some stuff about his beatbox career thus far, things he wants to achieve, things he's currently doing, and yeah, just things about the scene, and maybe even hear him drop some beats. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, introducing Mr. VINO. Let me see. Quinca? I'm going to try to get that right. Quinca. VINO Quinca, a.k.a. Knive, a.k.a. OD Bass God, repping Lower Mainland Groove, the Film Boys, the West Coast Groove, the Wookiees, UBC Acapella, representing for the community cuties. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for VINO.
That's good, guys. What's up, Swiss Beatbox?
What up,
thanks
champ?
so much for having me. Let's go.
Yeah, how you doing, man? I know you're on the West Coast of Canada, which means you're approximately at noon.
Yeah. Been a great morning so far. Went for a run, grabbed some breakfast, had some toast right before this, and here we are, ready to get this interview started. Super psyched to be here.
Yeah, you got that run game going. I like that.
Absolutely.
Right off the bat, before we talk about beatboxing, how often do you find yourself running and or keeping fit for beatboxing?
Yeah, I run because I have asthma, so to condition it and make sure I don't lose control of my lung capacity and stuff. I have to do cardio at least 3 times a week now, just to make sure I don't die. But yeah, it's a good excuse to get out there, even though there's still a pandemic going on. Still good to in a safe way, get out in nature and not really always just be confined to my house. But yeah, about 3 to 4 times a week at the very least.
Hey, 100%. It's good to go and get outside the house, and not dying is also pretty cool. That's
great.
Definitely a good additive. But real quick, once again, episode 57, Beyond the Beats. Put your questions in for Mr. VINO. I'm excited. A lot of people are here. They're saying that they're excited. There's people from the Philippines that are happy to go in to hear you and they want to hear some stuff. So before we start off asking you questions and stuff, would you be down to do a little showcase? Show a little bit of what you do, because people are asking about that every single time, and I always want to go and hear it. So do you have it in you to start off this on the right note and do a little showcase right off the bat? All right, then. Ladies and gentlemen, episode 57 with the Canadian champ, VINO. You already know what to do if you're sitting at home. I say the 3, y'all say the 2 and the 1. VINO showing him why he's the champ in 3.
Wow. Yeah, let's do it. Here's some new stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I got a secret, I don't know shit, but it's still got the crowd going shit, pumping out pistol, top one stick, the billboard. I got more in my pocket, one trick. One trick. Because you way too sweet. Sugar, get close, let me feel you here. Get close, let me feel you here. Because you sugar bad baby, make me grow.
A note to everybody: if you're coming on this program and you try to get on Swiss Beatbox, you come like that, just right there. You come like VINO, smash it.
Yeah.
Before I go and ask you even questions about how you got into beatboxing and stuff you've done so far, a question that has come up already in the chat and something that I've noticed from the first time I heard you, man. How do you train for being so clean? What are your tips and tricks for people just for cleaning up your beats? I know you're currently doing something with Villain and Elise, and shout out to Shazam and Sin for helping run this program, beatbox education program. So if you could go and give a tip just on how do you clean up your beats and how did you find yourself cleaning up your beats just right off the top?
Well, I think, okay, like what really pushed that phenomenon, first of all, was like, I feel like I don't use a lot of like the crazy new school sounds, I don't use a lot of like vocalized chest bass or like crazy inward bass or like post snare and all these like whistle sound stuff. And because of that, like I'm confined to using like, the things that I know that I'm good at. So like click rolls, OD bass, throw bass, but also that because of that, like, I have to default to having like really clean fundamentals. Because I'm like, okay, I know that like I can't do any of these like next level crazy sounds. So like the focus on what I can do, which is like being as clean as possible. And also, yeah, some of my biggest inspirations, right? Like Gene, LM, Villain, and Elise as well. Like they're like some of the cleanest beatboxers on the planet. Like their tech is like next level. The way that they integrate like vocal sounds with their like, technicality is crazy. So like, but yeah, I think to get clean, it's really just like a focus on really, really solid fundamentals, like making sure that your PF snare is like, you're not doing like, you're going like, and like really just getting that K snare as clean as possible as well. Like those are some of the most used sounds, like regardless of like what your style is, you are going to end up using a kick, a snare, hi-hat. So really making sure that those are like as poppin' and as clean as possible, I think is really, really important to making like your beats overall sound clean. But yeah.
And would you say that, excuse me, would you say that you would sit there and practice those sounds, the basics, the fundamentals? Would you sit there and practice really cleaning them up? And
yeah,
were there exercises that you recommend for somebody to go and specifically if you want to go and clean up a bass kick? What are some exercises you would just say off the top of your head, be like, do this?
Yeah, I think like focus on like, so like I like to think about like when I'm doing like my drums, like my kick drums, I like to think about like there being a slider and like you can slide how like tight or loose your lips are. So like if it's all the way to the right and it's like super loose, it's like, and if it's all the way to the left, it's like, so you really want to focus on getting it like really in the center, like, and making sure that it's like balanced overall. And it's really the way that I practice is literally just like beatboxing over songs, like just listening to music and like really like listening to how the kick drum sounds in like a rock song and really trying to emulate it as much as possible, like finding that right lip position. Also like looking in a mirror really helps too, so like you're like really familiar with like what your lip and what your mouth looks like when it sounds good. So like when you're doing the sound correctly, you know what your lips look like, so like that helps you with the muscle memory. So yeah,
I like that. Like a full spectrum of a sound to go and have a sound that you can take from loose to tight or from high volume to low volume, whatever way you'd want to go and say it. I like that. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's how I think about it for like pretty much all the sounds, because I think like obviously like there's the K snare, right? There's like, but you can like lengthen it, you can shorten it, you can do like multiple in a row. So I think there's like different kind of like dimensions to each sound. So I think it's good to think about like how you can manipulate each one.
Tuning up the sounds, and is that something where you would also say you might have found new sounds because of that system, or been able to?
Pretty much, yeah. Like it's like especially it helps me develop like new patterns when I think about, especially because again I a lot of my routines kind of use like the same relative sound kit. I don't really deviate that much, especially not like nowadays. But because of that, like I use like this whole like looking at like, okay, there's like the patterns that we all know, like, but then it's like how can I kind of shift that around by thinking about like, lengthening certain parts of the pattern or shortening some of them, or maybe even completely removing parts of them. So yeah, it's kind of how I think about developing my stuff.
Could you show an example of that, just even on that beat you just did, or just something you
So
can
like,
go and run us through a kind of little how you would come to a conclusion for your beat. This is what you want to get out of it, and from a beginning point.
yeah, I mean, like it's pretty much like I would take like patterns that I've used before. So like I remember when I first discovered OD bass, like obviously my default pattern was like I like this drop that was like, and I was like, that's really, I'm like, at the time I was like, this is sick. But then like the more I use it, I was like, there has to be ways that I can like change it. So I was thinking about like maybe if I go like double time, like, but I was like, you know, it's too much. So I was like scaling it back and kind of playing with that. And I was thinking about like, okay, it sounds kind of empty in terms of like it's just like a bass technique that's being spammed. So I kind of like, I was like, maybe if I can incorporate another sound that I know I'm good at, that I can chain it with. So I was like, okay, throat bass is something that I can kind of manipulate as well really easily. It's something that it's accessible for me. I can do it really easily. It's not like one of those sounds I have to like super concentrate to do. So and then I would throw throat bass into the pattern. So it would go like, yeah. And that's pretty much how I get to that pattern. And it's just like, yeah, filling that pattern in with like the right amount of sounds and like the right textures to balance it overall. And then pretty much it's just, yeah, fine tuning it from there.
And that also kind of leads up to another question of just the idea. Do you find there's across the board there's beatboxers with different skill levels, and they've been practicing for a different amount of times. So when you hear some beatboxers, something I found that has been happening more and more, and maybe it's just that I'm realizing it more and more because I'm seeing more beatboxers online. I'm seeing a larger spectrum of beatboxers, but I find that there's a lot of people that, as you said just right there, they try to jam so much into a confined amount of time when it ends up losing like cohesion and not having that. So when you're creating a routine, just like you're saying like that, what gets in your mind of being able to go and, you know, make sure you just kind of sway away from that, where you might be thinking, okay, how can I add this into there, and I can add this noise and then add this, and then just keep on putting too much in, so it kind of loses what it could become by adding too much.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, that's like a very common thing in like the current beatbox meta, where it's like people really value like this super next level complexity in beats, which is like the way that I think about it when I'm putting together beats and I'm talking to people about like beats that I do enjoy. It's like I just compare it to real music, and I think like, you know, when you listen to like let's say like a rap song, it's not like you don't get like the most, like imagine Rap God, but it's like the fast part the whole time. Like that's not enjoyable. Like you like it when Eminem like starts off a little simple. He brings it in. He starts with his flow, and then he like makes it more complex over time. He like brings it back to the beginning flow, and then like maybe references it at the end. And then like you have like the super fire part that's super fast in like the middle, right? So that's kind of like look at LM. Like he has like these crazy intros where he'll like, you know, kind of establish something cinematically, like on a stage or something, really get like the crowd's attention, and then he'll go into his crazy like, but like he doesn't do that his whole beat. So I feel like nowadays, you know, a lot of like new school, super new school beatboxers kind of think like, yeah, like if I just jam this much in and there's a post snare in there, it's like that's like the beat. But like you got to think about like also like what happens if you perform this on a live stage, right? Like you're probably going to get tired. The crowd's probably going to get tired of your beat because it's just that the whole time. So yeah, I just like to think about like treating beatbox like real music, and thinking about like if this were a song, if my beatbox routine were a song, because it essentially is when you perform it. Like if it is a song, then like where's the like how is it structured? Do I really want it to be like just this mess of complexity, like, you know, kind of just thrown on the stage, or do I want it to be something that like, you know, plays with like the audience's expectations and like kind of subverts them and kind of like satisfies them in like a really crazy way? Yeah.
And this is skipping ahead in your career, but Acapella, working with the UBC's Acapella group, and you being the vocal percussionist and helping, I believe now you're also helping facilitate that and
Yeah.
building it up. So would that be something that just in general, I know this is probably an easy, here's a low-hanging fruit for you to go and grab and quickly make the answer. It's going to be, you know, it's pretty easy to assume this, but having that structure and having to work with other people, whether it be another instrument, dancer, but specifically in an a cappella group where you have a set role and you have time to shine because you've won outstanding vocal performer a couple times now.
Yeah.
You have a couple of those under your belt as well. But having a part in a group that kind of puts you, does that, how much does that help you for constructing rounds and keeping what we talked about just a second ago in your mind to go and make routines with cohesion and being able to go and bring it through, as you said, the storyline and bring that, bring that emotion out to a crowd?
That is such a great question. Yeah, no, like I am super, super thankful for like my acapella experience overall, because I don't think I don't think I'd be anywhere near as good as I am now if I never did acapella, because like in acapella you can't, it's weird because a lot of people do the opposite of what I did. They start in acapella and then they go into competitive beatboxing. But when I joined acapella at my university, I had competed in Can Champs like twice already. So not to say that's like a lot of experience, but like compared to most acapella beatboxers, that was like a lot. But yeah, I think like because like as a beatboxer in an acapella group, you can't just be front and center doing like crazy lip rolls all the time. As much as you'd like to, you can't do that. There's like up to 17 other people who are singing alongside you. If anything, you're just like, you got a solo at one point. But because of that, like you're a lot more restricted in what you can do. But at the same time, you have like a completely different role. Like you have to be really, really supportive of like the rest of the group, like really establishing dynamics and stuff like that. And I think that is really good for beatboxers because it like focuses on, it's really good, like especially if you're gonna do like a tag team. Like I think that really helped me in my tag team career as well. But like learning how to kind of like take a step back as a beatboxer and really focus on like, okay, it's all about tempo, solid fundamentals, because that's what they hear. You're not doing like crazy click rolls in like an acapella song, right? I'm not gonna do OD bass in an acapella song. So it's literally just K snare, PF snare, hi-hats, kick drum. How do they sound? And then like mic technique is a huge thing too, because again, you're performing alongside like 17 other people, so you got to make sure you're heard. So like overall, it's like it's kind of very similar to the beatbox kind of experience, but at the same time, it's not, because your overall role on stage is different. But I was really thankful to also have been able to do it in like a competitive aspect, because because I'm also part of like a group that just kind of performs around campus, but I'm also part of like another group that performs like competitively. So because of that, I was able to do all this in a competitive context, which was also kind of the same as beatboxing. So yeah, no, it definitely like helped me in that sense. And also like seeing how like I would see how people would put together arrangements for the acapella group, and then they would kind of be communicating with me like, okay, how do we integrate like cool beatbox stuff into this without making it too much? It's like having the right amount of flair as a beatboxer, because you don't want to be like, again, front and center doing lip rolls, which is like, I see that a lot now in acapella, which is so strange. But yeah, it was like a balance and all that. And I think that's why we, not to flex, but like, that's why we did win like outstanding vocal percussion a bunch, is because we didn't force me onto like stage. We never were like, oh, like here's VINO, like do your OD bass thing, dude. It was always like, he is supporting the group with solid fundamentals and great tempo and stuff like that. But
yeah, you had said in one of your posts that I saw, I remember when you got one of those outstanding awards, you're like, I got this for, specifically the one piece was what you would say would be a basic version of it comparatively your skill set. But what you did there was, as you said, focus on these skills as a backing track essentially. And for that is what you won the outstanding for, not for going and doing a solo, not for going and flexing.
Yeah, that was like 2019. Yeah, I remember they gave me outstanding vocal percussion for a song that there wasn't anything crazy. It was like a Bruno Mars song, so there wasn't any crazy like drums going on. But yeah, in like the feedback, they were like, yeah, the crashes were like so on point. It was really great how he supported it with like overall dynamics. The tempo was amazing. And then like in the last song where I did have like a crazy solo and there was like choreography around it, they were like, that was pretty cool. So it goes to show that it's not just always about like, flexing your beatboxer's craziest sound. It's always about like how it ties into the overall performance with like 17 other people, right?
100%. And you can see that again. You've had success not only in that world, but the solo beatbox world, and now tag team as well. And I can see that this year, if we just, I'm gonna come back to how you got into it and stuff. I always try to do that, but like that you finished so close in both the GBB wildcard and kickback wildcard, a hair off out of huge competition though, competition, amount of people actually throwing in wildcards for that. So I think it was 400 and something. I forget the exact number for GBB.
Yeah, for solos it was like, I think it might have been more than 500 or something, but yeah.
And you got 18th, and that's like, if you think about that, stats was like, that's pretty near the top if you think about that. Yeah. And then Same with Kickback, ranking 13th, where you're just underneath that, almost got into it. So another question, just in general topic, is the idea of structuring around something that is only going to be seen in an online battle, and you're going to have a video. What recommendations can you give, and just your overall thoughts of how you approach making a wild card specifically? Because we're in a day and age now that wild cards are how you go and get into these battles, and there's less about showing up and having, like the American champs used to do, where they had the open elimination round, where people could go up, jump on a microphone. However many people jumped on that microphone, you had a chance live to show your stuff. But now it's a lot of battles across the world, and mainstays are wild cards video. So kind of just overall question of like, how long does it take you to go and refine this down, and does it make you to go and actually be able to go and get, okay, this is the one that I want to choose? And what recommendations do you give for people when they're making a wild card and crafting it?
Yeah. I mean, like the main thing that I've noticed, like in competing and versus like doing because I can champs, we have to do even though we make it in wild cards, we still have to do elims, right? To determine like the brackets. So like every time, it's crazy. Like I'll go submit a wild card for Can Champs, and then I'll place like third or fourth or something. And then that's my wild card. And then I'll do like some other beat that I didn't think was super crazy, and then I'll do it on like an elim, and then I'll place second. So I'll do better than I did with like this beat that I thought was better for my wild card. So my whole point is like, expectations live are completely different from what they are in a wild card, especially because it's like a video that the judges are more likely than not going to watch more than once. You know, they're going to like rewind and be like, oh, that's a crazy bass thing. So because of that, there's an expectation that it has to be essentially perfect. Like if you like miss a kick or like have like an awkward breath between like a pattern or something, like I'll always just redo it, because it's like, if I can hear this flaw, then there's a good chance that the judges are also going to hear that. So like it essentially needs to be perfect, which I think that goes without saying. I think also when you're overall creating this beat for like this wild card, if you are submitting it as a wild card, I think you have to structure it in such a way that it how do I say this? It's like it has to have a lot of replay value. Like you want it to be something that and it doesn't even have to be the whole beat, but like you have to have like a section or something that is really like has a really recognizable like, you know, melody or pattern or bass line that people will want to listen to more than once. Because a lot of the times you'll see like a really good performance like in a GBB ELM, like Cloud 2019, super good performance, right? But like overall, it's not that memorable. He doesn't do anything mega crazy except for maybe like that, which is great. Like that's one of his classic beats. That's probably why I remember it. But like he's such a great performer. He does all these crazy things, but like live, your expectations are a lot different. So like when you're doing it in a wild card, right? Like great example is Den, right? Like you just go like, and everyone's like, oh, that's Den. Like, you know that parts, and like if you think about it, this isn't like a criticism of like his wildcard or anything, but like the overall structure is pretty like linear and like repetitive. But because like there are these sections that are like super memorable, it's such a great wildcard. Like and like there are these sections that, you know, like are very recognizable and are very unique to him. So I think overall that's like the main difference I've seen in my experience, like between live and like wildcard expectations, especially nowadays, right? When there's like, you're not gonna just see the Den wildcard. You're gonna see the Den wildcard. You're gonna see Den promoting it on Instagram. Then you're gonna see 3 or 4 people reacting to it, and then you're gonna see it when it makes the GBB list, so that it's gonna be replayed again. So that's what I mean. It's like people are gonna see this a million times probably. So you want to make it so that like it's satisfying every single time you watch it. So yeah, that's my main piece of advice.
It's real. Again, that's like when I hear like a good example is Slizzer, some of his wild cards over the year where when he does something like that right away, I'm like, oh man, just puts a grin on your face and it gets you in it right away. So having memorable parts and something that really sticks out as unique and memorable as your overall piece for a wild card, that's definitely good advice. And looking back what's something that's coming up that you would like to go and put a wild card in for? Because right now there's wild card season for
Yeah, it is
loop
still a wild card
stations.
season. Yeah.
Wild card season seemingly never ending, and there's always more opportunities. But is there any competitions that you're currently looking at that you'd like to jump into? Most of them, I believe, are online. So is there anything that you can look at and be like something coming up that you'd like to jump into?
Throwdown is definitely, I think international throwdown is happening again, and they're using like this new judging system, which is crazy. And yeah, I'm super hyped to throw in a wild card for that one. I did it last year,
Yep.
and I got top 8. That was fun. So I'm really excited to see how far I could potentially get this time. I mean, yeah, like I think competitions overall are like such a great way to like motivate yourself to not only to like perform and like get in the scene and stuff, but like to create new material and like refine your old material for like especially in an online setting. But yeah, I think Throwdown is definitely one I want to do. I don't know any other ones that are coming up. Can champs? Yeah, no. Yeah, no, definitely. I'll do Throwdown for sure. That one's coming up.
Last year, or the year before, I think it was the year before when you did it. You had you ended up against Vokoda and had that what would have been on a Great North beatbox battle stage.
That would have been the Great North fantasy champs battle. But yeah, I want to get remix that one too. That was fun. 2 inward bass guys. That was fun.
Yeah, those guys are crazy, and don't think I forget. Whenever we get Great North and stuff back in Canada and stuff's on its way, we'll be definitely contacting you, my friend.
Let's go.
Yeah. Let's go back to also another thing because you just keep bringing it up. I keep on going. Usually I start these things off and try to go directly into you. Let me go through your whole career of beatboxing. But I like the way this is going. It's nice banter, and I guess it's also fellow Canadian and get to go and see you.
Let's go.
Current judging systems, man. You the ones that SBX a lot with Sinjo having to go and get behind it and people helping and refining it and getting opinions. And now, as you said, I believe the new one, Maddox, had a lot to do with for the Beatbox International one that's coming out. I think you're correct on that. So what do you think things that, in your opinion, because you can see it now, they're in black and white, you can go and read it. What are things in your opinion that there's still room for improvement on, things you think they nailed, and just overall judging in general? Are there points that you think are being missed out on and could be improved upon? And are there things that you think that have been nailed on the head as far as the judging system?
I mean, in terms of improvement, like I think it's super great that they're like being very, very transparent about it now. But like sometimes like I don't know, still I think in my opinion sometimes the criteria can be a little bit vague. There's a lot of like weird loopholes that occur. And there's a lot of questions that are still left unanswered when they kind of give you guys the rules. I mean, like, and then you have like this issue with like there's the pace system now, and then there's like the, I guess, traditional Swiss beatbox one. So it's like if I want to submit for this competition, I have to conform to the pace. If I want to compete in this competition, I have to conform to the pace system. But if I want to do GPB, I have to structure my stuff for a different judging system. It's like, not to say that they're like radically different or anything, but like they are gonna have underlying differences. I think like Maddox's is like, or the pace system is 3 points per category, and there's 4, and there's 1 judge per category, versus the complete opposite. Like, I'm not saying that's the opposite, but it's like very different from the traditional way that we all know. So like, is what I mean is like the lack of kind of not agreement, but like the lack of it's not centralized. Like there's no, it's kind of like in like let's say like you were to compete in like the NFL, like that the rules for football are this and this, but like it's like when you compete in competitions across the world, it's like the rules are different. It's like there's all these different structures and stuff too, right? Like some like like Asia Champs has like a crazy system for like the way they do eliminations and stuff. There's like, you need so much more material than you would need if you competed at like Great North. And it's like a very, very different structure, right? Like I think at finals in Asia Champs, it's like 3 90-second rounds, I think. And then in like Great North, it's like 2 2-minute rounds for like tag teams and stuff. So it's like, there's like all these crazy, it's not crazy, but it's like, there's just overall like a lack of like like agreement on kind of like a general rule set and a general kind of like criteria for things. Because if like going down this path, like it's like imagine every country having like a different system for judging. Like obviously that's like not worst case scenario, but that's like an extreme case. But like imagine every country having like a completely different judging system. You know, it's like, so then like if we were to invite Pechinkata to Canada, she would have to be like, okay, I can't use the Bulgarian judging system, I have to use the Canadian judging system. So it's like all crazy things, right? It's like then you have to teach the judges how to do each one, and then they have to get used to it, and like sometimes there might be inconsistency. So that's what I mean. Like there's all these problems that can occur when there's like these different ones. And that's like my overall kind of gripe with like how these wild cards are kind of judged and stuff, is like it's always ends up being different every time. Yeah, like I think like originality was worth like twice the amount or something, right? For wild cards this time, which was,
you're right.
Yeah, like I feel like, and I didn't even hear that from Swiss Beatbox. Like I remember perusing like the website and stuff, and like kind of seeing looking for information to like, you know, make sure I'm submitting my wild card right and stuff. And I didn't see anything about like originality being worth twice. I mean, maybe I'm really stupid, but yeah, like I heard it from my friends, and then they were like, yeah, it's worth twice the points. That's crazy. And yeah, so there's all these like kind of like hidden fees that you don't really see and stuff. And that's, again, it's not necessarily on Swiss Beatbox or like the team that's arranging it at all. It's literally just like I get it. Like this is all so new to the scene, right? Like the scene's so big now, there's so much money to potentially be made and stuff. So like, you know, because of that, there's a lot of pressure on like, okay, they're trying to please everyone, but at the same time, they're trying to maintain artist integrity, but at the same time, they're also like somewhat a business. So yeah, that's kind of like my overall like thing with the rules. I mean, like I think the progress that we're making is definitely good. Like it's a step in the right direction that we know, like, okay, you know, there's transparency, stuff like that. It's better than them just changing the system without telling us. So yeah, I think, you know, we're heading the right direction, but a little bit more like guidance could be needed.
True. Well, I mean, again, as you said too, it's starting out and continuously attempting to get better, attempting to go better and restructure and reformat, and eventually, hopefully, is the thing. Hopefully, at the end of it, when it does come time, there'll be a system in place that might have that continuity across countries and across places where you can say, okay, for you to do X, Y, Z, you know, in this competition, this is generally the accepted format. Yeah. So maybe that'll be something that happens in the future, and I'm excited just to go and read through more. So it's a weird thing to say, but like, you know, like I'm excited to go and read. I'm excited to go and actually sit down and read and actually look through and find and be like, okay, that's interesting to me. You know, something interesting, because people need to read more, myself included. But definitely something coming up. But yeah, man, let's go back. 2006-ish, Daichi's Wildcard. Your dad has it on a playlist of viral videos, comes across it, and you look at it and you say, hey, wait a second, what was that? A young VINO gets involved in the world of beatboxing to put it aside, because like most people do at that age, they're much like a goldfish and she's something else shiny and you're walking over that way. But then comes back and all of a sudden we go and see pentatonics, and then you see that there's a possibility with beatboxing and you start pursuing it, leading up to jumping into beatbox rap on TeamSpeak, having that phase and having moments of crushing internet chatter coming towards you, as most people do have, using that as motivation. I'm just going through and breezing through this quickly because it's an interesting story, but it all comes up to coming to 2016 Canadian champs, and by chance, you said in one interview, they just did it as, I kind of want to get known, so I'll put a video in, and all of a sudden, oh shoot, now I'm in it and I have to buy myself a ticket.
Yeah. I mean, I'm super thankful that happened though, because I would have never been here. Because I honestly, it didn't cross my mind. I was like, I'm not gonna go to Toronto. Like, I have like I don't know anyone there. Like, and no one else from Vancouver submitted either. So I would be going. I went alone. So I was like, there's no way I would go. I was like, at least not alone, you know. But my dad wanted me, so that was fun. But yeah, now I'm Can Champ. It's crazy how that happened.
A question I had to ask for you though is, growing up as you're doing this too, I noticed, I saw videos too of you. I never knew this about you, but much like an Olem, much like a Gene, and maybe not to their level because you pursued beatboxing more directly.
Yeah.
But your musical background of playing the drums and teaching yourself how to play the drums and being in like a jazz band class as the drummer, did you find that having some knowledge of rhythm and having that background allowed you an easier transition into the beatbox world and be able to go and think about it, rhythms and sections and phases from your drumming knowledge?
Yeah, I think my oh my god, I completely forgot I played drums in high school. Yeah, no, like I think my drumming, like, quote unquote career was like kind of like the precursor, or like kind of like the teaser in my life to like being a beatboxer, specifically in an acapella group. Because I remember when I was teaching myself how to play the drums, I was pretty much just using like residual knowledge that I would gain from in class. Because like my band teacher at the time was like his main instrument was drumming, so he would teach me like yeah, this is what, like, and like it was a jazz class specifically, so he'd always be like, yeah, this is like what the drummer does. He like maintains the tempo, and he does all this and this, and like, sets up the shots for the trumpets and stuff like that. Like, you're about reinforcement, and very, very rarely you're the soloist. Like, sometimes you'll do some crazy drum stuff, but like, other than that, you're a supportive, you're the backbone of like the of the band, with the bass as well. So yeah, and then I think a lot of that kind of contributed to like where I ended up in terms of acapella beatboxing, because it is essentially the same role but with your mouth. But yeah, I think like overall I've always like had kind of like rhythmic talent, I guess. Like, I was, I have a pretty good internal like metronome. I think like I've tested it a lot, like just for fun in like my acapella groups and stuff, and like supposedly it's pretty accurate. So there's that, and I think that always definitely helps when like you're putting beats together. But yeah, like, yeah, jazz drumming definitely helped, and it's especially because like I, for some reason, never could learn how to read music, like read sheet music. That's why I quit. Before I was playing drums, I was playing the alto sax, and I was like, and it was a jazz class too, so they were like, okay, we're gonna get into crazy like transpositioning and stuff, and I was like, I'm too stupid for this. Can I play like maracas in the back? And then that led to drumming, but I still never learned how to read like drum tabs. So because of that, like my teacher at the time was like, okay, just really listen to the band, and you have to really listen closely, like listen to when like the bass is about to set something up for the saxes, and then I'd really have to be paying attention all the time, and like learning how to kind of not improvise, but like accurately predict where I'd have to do certain fills, or where I'd have to stop, or where I'd have to start playing again. And I think that's really useful as a beatboxer, because it teaches you like where you can accurately and effectively put like breaks and fills and transitions in your beats. I feel like people always say like, yeah, like your fills are crazy, and like your switches between like double and halftime, they're so crazy. And it's like, yeah, I think a lot of that is due to kind of what I was doing in jazz band, which was like learning how to do all these like supportive but also influential parts of like percussion in the band. But yeah, jazz drumming, that was fun.
Yeah, and you brought it up too with playing sax as well, and before that, guitar lessons. You would say that you'd but not being able to necessarily read music at a high level and pursuing it that way. Do you also find that might also be able to help you? Just a lot of kids do this. If you can't read the music, like you said, you kind of go along, and if you listen to something, you can play it, or you'll in a band class, you'll sit there and force yourself to be like, okay, listen to the person beside me. Okay, now I can do it, and hopefully I remember that when it comes time for the actual performance of the song. Did you find that you had some of that going up when it came to sax or guitar, just trying to go and learn just by ear, listening and looking and being like mimicking before being able to read music necessarily?
Yeah, no, I think the other like uncanny like musical ability I have is like I'm really good at recreating things by ear, which I guess is really telling, because a lot of people are like, yeah, VINO like does a lot of covers, and like he's really good at covers, like in terms of beatboxing. Is like, yeah, because I feel like I'm really good at recreating things purely by ear, again, because I don't know anything about music theory or anything. So when I hear a chord, I'm not like, oh yeah, that's like a, I don't know, E minor or whatever. I'll just like listen to it, and I'll be like, oh, okay, so this is the and then I'll just recreate it. Like if ever I'm like messing around my loop station, I'll just, recreate the chord like that or something. And same thing goes for like, like all my covers, like they are pretty faithful. I like try to keep my covers like in the original key of the song, just for like accuracy and like, faithful to the original. But yeah, and then like I make sure that like my sounds accurately kind of recreate like the melody or whatever. But yeah, I think it's super useful to have that ability to kind of, because that's essentially what beatboxing is, right? You like at its core is like mimicking real drums. So if you have like this, if you really focus on like listening back to music and like kind of accurately like recreating like different snares, right? Because like snares can sound vastly different. You can make your K snare sound different, like as we were talking about before. So like, yeah, like recreating things by ear is super like a great skill to kind of hone. Even for acapella beatboxing, like when you're just focusing on your fundamentals, really good to accurately create those things. That's what gets you extra points performing on an acapella stage. But yeah.
I love like there's this French guy from way back in the day. If anybody's out there watching, make sure that you check out from back in the day when it was FM Beat and this guy named Camelbox. Now Camelbox is a guy that has just such ridiculous sounding drums. If you just listen to it, he holds his mic much like this. It's not beat. It's not the standard new way that we do.
Yeah, I think I saw an open elim. He did an elimination, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Super nasty.
Yeah, that was amazing.
And there's a good handful. Again, LOS. You can go down the list of Michael Winslow reconnecting sounds and being point on and moving forward to the new generations and stuff. But I love hearing somebody that could recreate a sound so lifelike, so and aside, what other sounds do you find yourself hearing other sounds? Like, so I was talking to other people, they'd be like, oh, I heard this bird, and they can do a bird sound exactly like a bird. Do you have yourself other sounds other than drums and beatbox techniques? Do you find yourself mimicking, or did you find yourself mimicking growing up, like a sound of a car or a sound of a toy, kind of like that Mark Martin TED Talk type thing?
Yeah, no, definitely like TED Talk. Definitely like I remember, I play with Bionicles a lot, like those Lego robot things. So, and a lot of them would have guns. So I'd always be like, yeah, I think that's how I learned how to do that sound. Like that I learned that I could roll my R's and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, because you don't need that in English. So, it was like a lot of
Canada
a lot.
Rolling up the rim used to be a thing.
We don't go like rolling up, we don't do it like the crazy way. But yeah, I think that's kind of how I discovered that. Yeah, a lot of gun stuff. I mean, I didn't I figured out that like how like me and BBK when we do our throat bass, I don't know if you noticed with me, but like I have to like look to the right to do my throat bass.
Yeah.
Like if I can watch, like I go it only works when I'm looking to the right, just like BBK. And I only discovered that I could do that because like as a kid I would do a lot of like Kermit the Frog impressions, like it's not easy being green. That's also my Elysium impression. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, but I would do that like voice a lot. And that kind of like was like the precursor to throat bass. It's like it's in like the roughly the same like throat position. So it's like so it's like kind of the same thing. But yeah, those are the sounds that I kind of I did a lot of. I remember that. I forgot that I did that sound so much. But yeah, because I play with Lego all the time, so I was doing that sound like crazy.
Yeah, Lego's sick. Shout out to Lego. Big shout out to Lego.
Yeah, shout out to Lego, man. Bring back the good Bionicles.
Not the new terrible ones?
Not the new crappy ones. Those ones are lame. They're so easy to put together. I want like the hard, like 5,000 pieces ones.
It takes some time to actually have to put together, possibly parental help.
Yeah.
And another thing I've noticed throughout the entire time I've known you, something I really respect, and I love that is the way that hear you talking about it, whether on stage or just chilling around. I love that you have so much love and respect for your family, and that you bring them into all these things of whether reasons of your success, reasons why you think you'll be able to go and achieve levels. And this is not even a question. This is just saying shout out to your family, and I wish more families would act like yours and have that support and support system in place to encourage growth. So it's
shout out to my family downstairs. My mom's in the meeting. Shout out, Mom.
Oh.
No. Shout out, Mom.
Yeah.
And dad's at work right now. And yeah, grandma's downstairs are probably cooking some chicken or something, and my sister's probably playing stinking video games in her room. Yeah, no, shout out to my family, man. They like again, yeah, I know so many stories, unfortunately, of like, especially with beatboxers, right? Because it's such like a niche thing, right? It's not like if I were to tell my parents like I'm gonna pursue music, like that's fine. They grew up with music, you know. But if I tell my grandparents like, hey, I'm like I could like kind of make money off this beatbox, like boxing, like what? So like they don't understand the concept of like beatboxing, but still then like my whole family has been like super supportive of me. Um, they're like rarely like even making fun of me, which I think is like it's low hanging fruit. Like you could totally be like, oh, how are your fart sounds going? But they're always like, every time I pull up to like a family gathering, they're like giving me hugs. You're like, oh my god, you're like the Canadian, you're the best in the world, right? I was like, no, just Canada, kind of. But it's yeah, my family is like super supportive, and I don't think I would be anywhere near where I am too. Like they even to this point, like they like I remember I went downstairs for dinner once, and my sister was like, "Yeah, watch some of the GBB wildcards. I think yours is probably in the best." And I was like, "You watched some of the?" She was like, "Yeah, Stitches was pretty good, and I really like Improver. I think he's gonna get it." And I was like, "Yeah, I think Improver." Anyways, like it's crazy. And then, yeah, even my dad was like, "Yeah, I saw that asthma guy from the Canadian champs. His wildcard was so good." And I was like, "Asthma guy?" And I was like, "Oh, you're talking about Den."
Yeah.
So like they know like all the stuff and they keep up with it, which is like more than I would ever expect them to do. But yeah, like shout out to my family and stuff. I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am if it weren't for them.
And that's something I think that's going to happen more and more as families get younger, and I just mean in general, like, you're I don't know if people would recognize this fact, but you're like 10 years younger than me approximately, I'd say, maybe a little bit more so, aging myself. I'm giving round numbers here, but I'm saying from what I would experience with my family compared to what you are, and I think moving forward, as beatboxing gets out there more, people see it more, people recognize it as a skill, as a talent, as something with a viable career or things to go and improve on. And as it gets taken more as a serious art form, I feel like there'll be more encouragement, just like your family being like, no, we're watching who else is out there. They actually know names. They actually show up to shows. They actually show up and support and encouraging that growth. So I really do hope that's a trend that will continue in the future. And I would love to hear more stories of us, like, you know, multi-generational beatbox families. Something I'm very interested in.
I've definitely seen it too. I've seen it in the scene. Like, shout out to I don't know her actual name, but shout out to Mama Sonic, like Ultrasonic's mom. Supportive of like not only Ultrasonic's career, because like Ultrasonic's been like in like kids bop type stuff, and and like acapella, like kids acapella stuff, which is super great. Just have these crazy videos, and yeah, obviously Mama Sonic is probably the one leading the charge, and obviously the rest of her family as well, and like I think she has some siblings as well. But yeah, huge shout out to like families like that. Even in like BEP, we've had some younger students, and because of that, we have to like get their parents' permission and stuff for like the payment and stuff. And yeah, their parents have been like super supportive as well. They're like, yeah, like we've been in contact with some of them, and they're like, yeah, it's great that my son is doing like this beatbox stuff. And I'm like, that's crazy. Be supportive of the mouth sounds. But yeah, I think especially now, right? There's like a huge wave of beatboxers that are just straight up like children, like and like you see this across the world too. So like if the more this becomes a phenomenon of like younger and younger beatboxers, I think it's going to motivate more and more parents to like kind of get accustomed to like, yeah, this is like no different from my son wanting to take up guitar. It's like this is like a musical discipline, and there's a community and it's supportive. So definitely it's something that like I think parents should and will get behind eventually. Yeah.
I see it happening more and more too, and I would like to see it continue that trend for sure. And again, I saw like from Mama Sonic bringing around to different championships and world champs, and they get to go and experience that. And even I remember with Elise's parents are always at events, and I always see them. I see I remember Villain and Decoy both when I did Great North, their parents came up, and so I got to go and see it. So I see
Den's whole family was at Can Champs. They were super loud too. Yeah. Family. Yeah, and they like congratulated me, and then they invited me to their place for dinner, and I was like, oh no, I gotta go party with the boys. But yeah, thanks so much.
Well, you never know
like,
that.
the whole family pulled up. That was so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I can't wait for there to be another. Everyone can't wait till be more live events to bring them back. We'll eventually have those things, and maybe you'll be able to take that opportunity to go and have dinner with the family. You'll see how that goes. Yeah, man. But again, Canadian champs. You go up. You said that you had like I saw a high school video of you where you're sitting there and there's a guy playing piano and someone with a female singer, and you were the beatboxer.
Yeah. Oh my
Outdoor
goodness.
stage.
Yeah, that was super old. Yeah, that what is that group called? The Rainbows. We called ourselves the Rainbows. There's a huge shout out to Rachel Chu from my school. Yeah, we go to university together. We're also leading. So like out of nowhere, this is like super off topic, but like that girl that in that video that you mentioned, we are now like the co-directors of Acapella, which is like my competitive Acapella group. We're like co-directing it together now, which is so crazy. So we started like, as like a little beatbox singing duo, and now we lead an Acapella group together, which is crazy. But yeah, that's something that I did back in high school. That was fun. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm happy about that backstory too. But I was bringing it up for the idea of when you got into and had that moment of, oh, I'm in 2016 Canadian champs. I need to go and make routines. I need to go and have this stuff. Who were what was it like for you to as relatively inexperienced and jumping onto the Canadian beatbox scene and being in the stage? And what was your overall welcome to the scene like in Toronto, in your opinion?
Super. I mean, again, Canadians, so we're super polite and like hospitable, but like, yeah, everyone was super nice. Like the first beatboxer I met was Heat. He just straight up picked me up at my hotel and like in his dope car, and I was like, dang. He's like, I was like, yeah, I'll meet you at the restaurant that we were going to, and then he's like, no, I'll just pick you up. And yeah, we pull up to this place. I meet Hanson. Andre was there. Villain was also there. Oh my God, Villain was like one of the first beatboxers I ever met, and I was like, dude, this is like the guy who was on Beatbox Television. This is the guy who battled Napalm, and he's like, oh my God. I remember thinking that, and I was like, there's no way that he even like knows who I am. And he like the moment I see him, he like daps me up. He's like, Vino, good to see you. I love your Wildcard. And I was like, oh, what? No way. And yeah, and then that was like my whole. I think from then on, like meeting other beatboxers was like super chill. But that was like the moment that I had. I was like meeting like a celebrity for the first time, and then they're just like super chill. And I was like, oh, right, we're all humans. We're just like beatboxers. That's fine. It's just you're someone that takes it as seriously as I do, and you're just way better than me, And now I guess we lead a masterclass together. But yeah, no, like that's crazy how that works. Yeah, but Villain was just like super chill dude. And yeah, and then the day after I think was like I don't think it was the beat and greet, but yeah, I remember pulling up to the venue early and stuff. Oh yeah, and then I had to sit outside. So I remember really bonding with because that was the year I was still technically underage. I was like 17, so I had to like chill outside in like the Starbucks across the street, and that was with like Homeboy, Rubik, Chu, like Ethan Chu, Francis. Like we were all still underage, so we were just chilling in like the Starbucks, and we had like the little circle jam. But yeah, that was like my whole introduction to the scene, and I remember just being super excited because I was like, oh, yeah, dude, Elise and like Heat. Oh my God, I've been watching these guys for like years now, and then they're just like normal humans, and now they're like some of my best friends, and I could just play video games with them all the time, and yeah, they're like the cool cousins you get to see like once or twice a year. And you're like, oh yeah, let's go get to see the cousins. But yeah, those guys are great.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And bringing up also just for those of you who don't know, unfortunately, in a lot of Canadian bars and stuff, when in places that I've had the champs at, it's hard to go and get the bars to go and accept having underage kids essentially into there. But we figured it out as best as possible, and I hope it worked for you guys. So I'm glad that it did work on some levels, and that's something
that was great.
Cannot wait to get back to. We'll see when that actually does happen, though, with all the stuff that's happening. And another thing that I've seen, another thing that I've been able to watch as you've grown in the scene is 2016, get there. You lose to MTO, another Vancouver guy. And then 2017, you come but rank first in the seeding round, get taken out in the first round again. But then third time coming up, you get Elise in the finals. You make it all the way to second place, and as we all know, 2019 become champion of Canada.
Yeah, it was a crazy ride. It's like I keep on like every time like some of my friends like we just like look back at like old Can Champs videos, and it's like it's crazy how like your career went, and I was like it is kind of like the curve went steep like really quick. Also real quick, shout out to Andre with his stinking strategy of like always ranking last and seed in the prelims so he could knock out the first seed. That's so genius, but also a little stinky. Anyways, that was such a smart move. He even did that at Great North. And he almost knocked out Inertia, which was like, that was awesome. But yeah, shout out Andre. But yeah, it's so crazy how like that whole like curve went. I mean, it's also similar to like Elise, right? I think he got like just straight up got third twice and then he won twice. So I mean, it's not similar to that, but like it's kind of like in the same like theme of like super steep curve. But yeah, I think like the reason why that happened is literally because like I would always enter these things with like semi-lowered expectations, or like almost always. Like I would always enter these competitions like with like semi-lowered expectations because it's like I know that like Elise is competing, or like I know at Great North Napalm is gonna be there. Like I'm not gonna win this, or like I was like if lucky I'll get like top 8 or something. So I'd always enter these things with like relatively lowered expectations, but then I would for whatever reason like surpass these really low expectations I made. I was like, oh wow, I can't believe I like almost beat Andre this time. And then 2018 Great North, I was like, oh my god, I just won my first battle. Like I didn't think I was even gonna do it. And then like I went against Heat, and like I think I got 1 vote, and I was like, oh, got 1 vote against Heat. But yeah, like it's like these little like milestones that like for some reason meant so much to me. And then I was like, wow, I didn't know I could. I was like, when I beat Andre, and that was like my first win ever in a real battle, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't know this was ever gonna be possible. And then because of that, like, the community kind of starts recognizing you, and then they start like, they'll gas you up in the comments. And it's like all those little words, like at that stage where you're just like, kind of discovering yourself as a competitive beatboxer, like those things mean the most, which is why like I think it's really important to surround yourself by like, positive people in the community. But like, yeah, like, well, these little like milestones of like, okay, then like, place first in prelims, and then like, beat Andre the first time, and then like, that whole summer, like between winning my first battle at Great North and then leading up to Can Champs and later that year, like I was like, I can't believe I won that. So I spent the whole like essentially year. I was like, what if I like end up against Elise in the finals? Like I was training to meet Elise in the finals. Elise, you're like, I thought it was gonna be Cymax, but it ended up being Elise. Yeah, I was like, I gotta train to beat one of them, or get close to doing so in the finals. And that's essentially what I got. And then once I did that, I was like, okay, if I can get to finals, that means I can do it again and win it. Because like I was like, there's no way I am gonna settle for less than like that, especially now that I know I can get there. And that's kind of like that was like my mentality going into like the latest Can Champs. But yeah, I think it's early in your career, like these small wins mean like the most to you, and like these like comments on these videos that like might not even get more than 1,000 views, like they mean the most. Like when this person goes like, yo, I like this like one beat that you do, like I like this drop at like 137, you're like, yeah, I worked really hard on that, thank you. I think those things like mean the most. And like it doesn't even matter if it's like a small Discord competition that ends up on like a highlight, or if it's like your national champs and you're doing an elim and people are like, yeah, like I love that yeah boy routine. So yeah, it's that's kind of how it all falls into place in terms of becoming the champ.
Yeah, well, and wait a second. Come on, the champ. Let's go. Another thing is unfortunately due to the timing of stuff, right? You win Can Champs, you get into vocal total, would have had a chance to go over and represent an international competition. And you were putting out wildcards for like Beatbox to World and putting out wildcards. And as stuff went, everything's been shut down, unfortunately. You had much success. You won Mad Meal. Big ups to you as well. Online competition. And you're starting to get recognized in the international scene more and more due to doing like international Throwdown, which you did, and getting into online world champs, going up against Rivers. So you're getting your name out there, and you're proving yourself on that, starting to get right there with the ability to go and I could see you on a Grand Beatbox Battle stage, 100%. I could see you smashing up World Champ stage when it comes up. Like, I can't wait to go and see that. And that's a proud moment for myself as a Canadian to go and be like, yeah, they're doing it.
Yeah.
Uncle Scotty's proud of you guys, you know, like, it's for real.
Yeah.
And with the Wookiees as well, you guys winning and that seeds you in there. So I'm looking forward to seeing where you guys go. But a question I have to ask is so now that we're in a current thing of you were just about there jumping into international battles and would have been able to jump on stages with possibly, you know, some of the biggest names in battles, and now you've had experience on the online version of it as well. What are things for future? What are future VINO goals that you want to go and get into? Let's say that in a year's time things are back to relative normalcy. What are some goals that you have? Would you come back and battle in Canadian Champs? Is that a defending title that you'd want to go under?
Yeah.
Great North, do you want to get into? Are you trying to get into, like, what competitions would you love to get into? Let's say if stuff goes back to normalcy relative in the next year or two.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely this is like such like an extended goal that I have, but I don't, it's not that I believe that I can. It's especially not right now. But I do want to win GBB one day. In any category. Probably solos or tags, but I want to win GBB one day. That's just like a goal that I have. But like in the future, yeah, definitely coming back for the Can Champ title. I have to 2-time. It's tradition. Yeah, definitely coming for the 2-time at Can Champs. I mean, like, you know, fingers crossed for GBB tags. You know, Wookiees that are in there. Yeah, I mean, if next year, yeah, I want to compete at the 7 to smoke. That's what I want to do. Like, I'm probably going to go to GBB regardless of whether or not I get in. Just want to pull up. I've never been to an international competition. I mean, like, you know, outside of North America at least. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely going to GBB would be sick. So I would like to compete in the 7 to smoke. Those look like the perfect balance of like still competitive because it's a GBB qualifier if you win, but also like fun as hell. You know, people are like still have like, you know, it's all community love and stuff like that. So I think 7 to smoke would be a super, super fun competition. I mean, again, as I said, Throwdown would be great. I mean, you know, Mad Twins, if there's a Mad Meal 3 and you're not asking me to judge, I'm going to compete. By X Fin. Yeah. Yeah, shout out Mad Twins. That's definitely something that I would do. I think probably like as soon as September hits, because I'm going back to school, I probably won't be doing a lot of online stuff, online competitions as of then. I mean, like the only reason why I did in 2020 was purely because, you know, we were all locked inside, right? So there was really nothing else that I had going on. So I was like, yeah, you know, better to focus on like my beatbox stuff, and it kind of worked. You know, it led to a lot of creation of new material and yeah, I guess as you said, like getting my name out there and stuff. But yeah, GBB definitely. Oh yeah, I really want to go to Beatbox World if they have it again. Beatbox World, love to pull up South Korea. It'd be sick. And then there's also, what is the one that also has World Beatbox Classic? That also looks like a super fun battle. Yeah, I would like to pull up to any Asia competition. Yo, Asia Champs. I'm Filipino ethnically, so if you'll have me, Asia Champs, bro. Like, hit me up. I would love to compete there.
Mike Lee's a good guy. I'm sure that you could talk to him.
Yeah, I'm ethnically Filipino. I could just apply for my dual citizenship, anyways. Yeah, Asia Champs would be super fun too. Oh, and then like I've never been to an American competition, so like Midwest or like East Coast. I think I keep on forgetting which one is like open to people outside of the States, but like whichever one, I'd be down to just like, or like Legends or Smash Sounds if they ever have those again. Like, and I know that they always get cool judges, like they get like claps and like codfish and stuff. So like that'd be fun to pull up to. Yeah, those are all the competitions I can think of. Oh, Vocal Total, if it happens. Like I was super hyped to go. Flex, I got second place in the Wildcards, but also like I heard that like the, you know, there's a lot of stuff other than the actual competition. There's like tours and stuff which are really fun, and like all these crazy parties which would have been super fun to do. Yeah, especially that lineup for the people that qualify was pretty sick. Like I remember Kendo was there, and like Napalm, BR, Zeka, so that would have been really fun to compete in. So yeah, Vocal Total, hoping for 2022 maybe. that'd be great. Love to go to that.
Yeah, maybe you can keep the Canadian tradition of winning that around too. I'd love to go and see it. Get another W for Canada. Do it up.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I know. Again, you've done a lot, and another thing I wanted to bring up is getting that recognition and being able to go and have reaching success and having Can Champs under your belt, a great North win under your belt with the tag team, and getting more and more, just getting into it and getting the possibility of new battles coming up. And something that you said, something that you had a whole podcast, and I'm not sure these people so much, but it came up. But it was called Filipino Fridays.
Oh yeah,
Filipino Fridays. You had this podcast that you were on, and you were talking to them, and a thing that you brought up that I thought was, again, like you have succeeded in it greatly. But this in Canada for Sportsnet, you've had pieces come out that were filmed in support of hockey, in support of the Jays. And then as Asian Heritage Month as well, they put it on a specific thing with you as the feature. And how important is it to go and have, in your opinion, somebody that you can connect with and relate with having success in a scene? Because the thing you brought up in that interview and podcast that kind of hit me was to think about is like after Korean Effects, who was first 2-time Canadian champ, and big ups to Terry wherever he is in the world. I hope he's doing well. But after him, you're the next Canadian champ that has that background and can be looked up to, and you can go and have stuff going on, TV and stuff where people could see and have that be able to identify with it. So again, just in general, kind of speak on that, how you feel about being a new role model in that sense, especially in Canada, and also what it would mean to you and your thoughts in general of having people represented that anybody from anywhere can go and identify with themselves.
I mean, yeah, like that's a great question. Like I think that is super important. I mean, the thing is, it's like it isn't something necessarily that like is within the control of the community. So like, it's not like I fault Beatbox Canada or any competitions for like only having white dudes win. That's just kind of like the reality of the scene. I remember every time I pull up to Can Champs, like, it's different from Vancouver, right? Like you've been to Vancouver, it's a very Asian community surrounding this area. But like when I come to Toronto and I go to the beatbox thing, it's like, yeah, it's primarily white guys. Like me and Cymax are among the only like Asian guys. Not that that's a problem, it's just like the reality of like the demographic. I mean, like the thing is, I do understand how like important it is to not even like Canadians, but like if you look at any of my videos, like there's like a good handful of comments that are like, are you Filipino? Are you half Filipino? Or like, are you from the Philippines? And at first, like those kind of like annoy me because it's like, why does that matter? But then I realize like it does matter because it's like, there's not a lot, like if I put it in perspective, there's not a lot of people from the Philippines kind of out there in the international scene necessarily, right? Like I think off the top of my head, Vincent, right? I know that he's from the Philippines and has done some international competitions. I know he did Asia Champs. I know AD Beat's doing some like TikTok stuff. Neil, from Asia's Got Talent. But yeah, he's like, they're all super talented Filipinos, but like overall in the competitive scene, there's not a lot of people from the Philippines kind of necessarily representing. So that's why I'm always like, I always check myself and I'm like, I get why I get these comments. Like I shouldn't be annoyed because these people are just looking for kind of someone to identify with in the community, right? Like obviously you got like, me and Chris Solis, but we represent North America. Like Chris Solis is from the States and I represent Canada. He's never competed representing the Philippines. Not saying that he needs to or anything, but that's just, because he's from the States. So like, I get that like it's very important that like there is someone in the scene that represents other demographics that are also part of the beatbox community. It is really important. I mean, like that is another reason why like I am working towards these goals because I want to show that like there are other people present in the community. But yeah, no, it definitely is important to have someone that you can look up to. I mean, like the same thing could be extended to like to women. I feel like there's not a lot of like women in the Canadian scene really at all, or at least the ones that are like submitting for competitions and such. Not saying that like that's a problem, but it's just like it is very telling of like how our community overall is. I mean, same thing for like the States and other countries, right? I mean, that's a whole thing it's like a whole other thing that the community is kind of like wrestling with. But yeah, it is very important for beatboxers, again, because there's this whole phenomenon of beatboxers being younger and younger, right? So like I think it is very important for growing up in the scene, especially like having someone that you can look up to that you also can like identify with is very, very important. Yeah.
Well, I think that you're doing an excellent job in becoming one of those people, and I look forward to seeing more and more people leaving comments on your videos and getting that going. And I'd love to see more people. I just overall, there's more people from different walks of life that come into a scene. The better that scene forever will be, in my opinion. And I think again, it's a pleasure to go and see a fellow Canadian pushing that forward, man. So
yeah. Also, I just want to say for the record, I am Filipino. To everyone out there, I am Filipino ethnically. Like both my parents are from the Philippines. They moved here from Manila. They moved to Canada, or they moved to Vancouver specifically. And and then they had me, and I was born here. So I am ethnically Filipino, but I was born and raised in Canada. I am pretty Canadian at heart. But yeah, shout out to the Philippines, though. Jeez. Love that place.
Let's go.
My hometown. Let's go. Shout out Manila.
Another question we're going to go and ask you on, before we get into some other parts of this, I wanted to go and ask you, could you go and tell me more about the program that you're working with right now with Villain and Elise and being supported and backed by Shazam and Sin? Just kind of running down, because I think it's really interesting and something that if the people could do, they should do. Give me 1 second though. I feel like maybe I'm wrong, but it's looking like there might be some lag on this stream, which I would hope isn't the actual fact. It looks like there is lag. I might be wrong on that. Maybe that's just from my end, but I'll wait and see if there's a message. But seeing a little bit of it, eh?
Yeah.
But well, as we hopefully figure that out and hopefully it works out, could there be? Anyways, could you go and explain the program that you're currently doing and what people can go and look forward to and how they can go get themselves into said program?
Yeah. So in a nutshell, beatbox education program. It's a 5-week intensive